Have you ever been in a conversation and while the other person is still talking, you're already 10 steps ahead? You've already felt the shift in their tone. You've already predicted what they're going to say next. You've already calculated how it'll end. And then they finish speaking and you realize you've been somewhere else the entire time. Not because you're distracted, but because your brain simply doesn't know how to stay slow. If that hit a little too close to home, this video is for you. Because today, we're talking about a very specific kind of person. Someone the world doesn't have a perfect word for, but psychology does. They're called hyper-aware individuals, and the life they live, it's beautiful and absolutely exhausting at the same time. Imagine a woman, let's call her Aria, sitting in a coffee shop. She's not reading, she's not on her phone, she's just watching. She notices the barista's forced smile when a difficult customer walks in. She notices the couple in the corner who haven't spoken in 10 minutes but are pretending to look at their phones so it doesn't feel awkward. She notices the way the overhead light flickers every 40 seconds, and she's already wondered if anyone else has noticed it. She's picked up on at least 7 things in the last 3 minutes, and this is her resting state. This is just a Tuesday afternoon for Aria. Now, is Aria special or is something wrong with her? Neither, and both. Today, we're going to understand people like Aria, what drives them, what breaks them, and what makes them quietly extraordinary. Stay with me.
Psychology describes this as heightened metacognitive awareness, which is basically a fancy way of saying these people don't just experience the world, they observe themselves experiencing it. They're watching themselves in real time, narrating, analyzing, noticing. It's like living with a documentary crew inside your own head. And research, including studies on the default mode network in the brain, suggests that hyper-aware people have a more active internal processing system. Their brain doesn't really turn off. It's always running background checks on conversations, on body language, on the invisible dynamics in any room they enter. This awareness isn't a choice, it's a wiring.
So how do you know if you or someone you love is one of these people? Let's go through 5 signs, and if you're nodding along to more than 3, you already know the answer. Sign 1. You absorb other people's emotions without trying to. You walk into a room and you feel the mood before anyone says a word. Your friend says, "I'm fine," and you know with absolute certainty that they are not. This isn't mind reading. This is what happens when your brain is calibrated to pick up micro-expressions, tone shifts, and the tiny pauses between words that most people miss completely. Psychologists link this to high empathic sensitivity, and while it makes you deeply compassionate, it also means you carry a lot of weight that was never yours to carry. Sign 2. You overthink, but not because you're anxious, because you're thorough. There's a common misconception. People assume that if someone overthinks, they must be anxious or insecure. But for hyper-aware individuals, overthinking isn't fear, it's processing. Their brain simply doesn't accept a surface-level answer. It needs to understand the why behind the why, the motive behind the motive. They're not spiraling, they're exploring. The problem, the world rarely slows down to match that speed. Sign 3. You feel deeply and recover slowly. A hyper-aware person doesn't just experience a painful event. They experience it, re-experience it, analyze it from 3 angles, understand it intellectually, and still feel it in their chest 2 weeks later. Not because they're weak, but because their emotional processing is high resolution. Where others experience emotions in broad strokes, these individuals experience them in fine detail, every shade, every texture. It's an extraordinary capacity for depth, and it comes at a cost. Sign 4. You notice things nobody asked you to notice. The inconsistency in someone's story, the unspoken tension in a meeting, the moment a relationship started going wrong before either person admitted it out loud. Hyper-aware people often describe feeling like they're living slightly ahead of time, like they can see the ending of a movie that everyone else is still watching. And sometimes it's a superpower, and sometimes it's a sentence. Sign 5. You struggle to be present because your mind is always somewhere else. Not in the past, not in the future, somewhere in between, where everything is being held, examined, and quietly understood. Mindfulness teachers often say, just be in the moment, and hyper-aware people will tell you with complete sincerity, I am in the moment,
I'm just also in 11 other ones at the same time. That's not carelessness. That's just how they're built.
Here's what no one tells you about being this aware. It's lonely. Not in a dramatic, story-worthy way, in a quiet, daily, invisible way. Because when you see things that others don't, you often can't explain what you're seeing. And when you try, you either sound paranoid or overthinking it or too sensitive. So you learn to stay quiet. You start filtering yourself. You hand people the simplified version of your thoughts, the one that fits in the normal-sized conversation, and you keep the rest tucked away somewhere they'll never look. And over time, that gap between who you are on the inside and who you let people see starts to feel like the loneliest distance in the world. Psychologists who study gifted adults and highly sensitive persons, terms coined by researchers like Elaine Aron, describe this pattern consistently. These individuals are often the most perceptive people in any room, and simultaneously the most unseen, because depth is hard to hold, and most people aren't looking for it. There's something else. When you're always aware, you're also always accountable to yourself. You can't ignore red flags because you've already seen them. You can't pretend something is fine because you've already analyzed it into the ground. You hold yourself to a standard that you can't always explain to the people around you. And that relentless internal standard is exhausting in a way that sleep can't fix. But here's where it turns. Every extraordinary human quality, courage, love, creativity, leadership, has a shadow side, a cost, a weight it makes you carry. And awareness is no different. That woman, Arya, from the beginning of this video, she notices suffering before it becomes a crisis. She catches the lie before it becomes a betrayal. She understands people in ways that make them feel seen, sometimes for the first time in their lives. She's the friend who sends you a message at exactly the right moment because she noticed something was off in your voice 3 days ago, and she didn't forget. She's the colleague who walks into a failing project and quietly sees what no one else can articulate. She's the partner who knows, really knows, what it means to love someone with attention. Awareness, when it stops being a curse and starts being a tool, is one of the most quietly powerful things a human being can carry. But here's the thing most hyper-aware people never hear. You don't have to process everything. You are allowed to let things pass through you without catching and holding every single one. You are allowed to feel something and not immediately understand it. You are allowed to be in the moment, not just observing it from a step away. The world needs your awareness, but you also need rest from it. And learning when to turn the volume down, not off, just down, that's not a failure of your gift. That's the mastery of it. If this video described you, I want you to know something. The world is going to keep calling you too sensitive, too analytical, too in your head. Let them, because here's what they don't see. The reason you notice everything is because everything matters to you. And in a world that's constantly moving too fast to pay attention, that is not a flaw. That is a form of love. Awareness is not your weakness. It is your fluency, a language most people never learn. And the goal, the real goal, isn't to be less aware. It's to be at peace with how much you see. If this resonated with you, share this video with someone who needed to hear it today, because chances are they've been carrying this alone for a very long time. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's one thing you notice that others seem to miss? I genuinely want to read your answers. And if you want to understand yourself and the people around you more deeply, subscribe, because this channel exists for exactly this kind of conversation. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself, especially you, the one who's always taking care of everyone else.